Mike. What day is it, Mike?
Wacky Wednesdays!
Wacky Wednesdays!
Welcome to Wacky Wednesdays. I'm Christy Richardson, the children's director at Northside Church. Let's have some fun.
It's a noisy girl life.
Come here. Come on. Kitty. I know you hear me. Kitty. I see you here. Noisy. Come here, kitty. Come on. Come on.
It's a noisy girl life.
Noisy doesn't obey. I can't make her obey. But you know, I can relate because when I was a little kid, I sometimes had a hard time obeying my parents. I grew up in the country in a small town in Arkansas called Sheridan. It only had about 2,000 people, so it was really, really small. But since I grew up in the country, I was always outside. I was a tomboy. I was playing all the time. But one problem was that I was a little bit clumsy, so I'd fall all the time. So my parents would, tell me to be careful and don't fall. But I just loved being outside so much. We had dogs that I played with. I had a horse named Mandy that I would ride. I loved riding her. I had a go-kart that my dad had cut out trails in the woods that I would drive the go-kart for hours on end. We had a trampoline in the front yard that I loved to jump on. We had a badminton net set up on that I would play. I mean, I was always outside. Water slides, I mean, you name it, and I was outside. I even played softball. Well, that was an injury when they had warned me about, but you can't help it when you get hit by a softball. I was pitching, and a line drive came at me, and rather than holding up my glove to protect myself, I held up the other hand, and so it hit it and broke my wrist. But when I was at home and I would fall, I always seemed to injure my knees because you land on your knees. I had so many stitches through my life. I had stitches on one knee, I had stitches on my chin, I had stitches on my hand, but this knee that I'm gonna show you maybe in a little bit was the one that I kept falling on and breaking it open over and over and over again, breaking the scab open. And that's when my parents would say, if you fall on that knee again, you're gonna get in trouble. And so I would try to be so careful when I was outside playing, but no, I would fall and break it open and break it open and repeat. So it never really healed very well, which again, that's probably why they were telling me, stop falling on that knee. And one story I remember in particular is when I had fallen and I was outside with my sister and she starts laughing at me. I have one older sister, she's 7 years older, telling me I'm gonna get in so much trouble. So I went inside with my hand over my knee, trying to make sure that nobody saw it. Well, of course, blood's just pouring down the front of my leg. And so my dad said, did you break it open again? And I'm, no, I did nothing. Trying to, sneak away. But of course, I had done it again. I tried to be good though. I tried so much I even joined the Girl Scouts. And I loved it. I was a brownie and a Girl Scout, and that was one of the best times of my life because my mom was my troop leader. And the funny thing is, years later, when my boys saw my picture of me as a scout, they said that I reminded them of the Mighty Bee. I don't know if you all remember her. She's a cartoon character. But anyway, the point is, I did re-injure that knee over and over and over again. I suppose I should show it to you. All right, can you zoom in? Can you see how bad it is?
Ew.
Look, I know.
It's still scarred.
It's still pretty big scarred.
Yeah.
But anyway, it's okay. I'm okay. I had a great childhood. That's my wacky story.
1, 2, 3, 4. Wacky Staffy, taking us back, making us laugh. Wacky Staffy, making us laugh. It's a wacky staff. It's a wacky staff. Woo!
I'm here to do a wacky, Wednesday story to join the series of everyone who's gone before. My story has to do with my childhood, and it has to do with obeying my mom. I was raised on a farm in Henderson County, Lexington, Tennessee, about a 43-acre farm. My grandparents lived across the street. Grandparents lived beside us. So I had 4 brothers and a sister, and then I had a host of playmates that were cousins, and we just played all the time on this 43-acre farm. We usually would go out early in the morning, particularly the boys, without shoes on, without shirts on, and we'd just be outside all day, going everywhere. And I remember one day, specifically my mom stopping me, telling me to put shoes on, and telling me to put a shirt on and to be careful about where I was going. because I was the youngest of the kids that was going out. So Mom got busy, and I did what I normally did. I went on outside without my shirt or my shoes, made my way back to the backyard, had a pretty big backyard. We had this area in the backyard, down towards the backyard and one of the fields close to the house, where there was a grape thicket where grapes grew. And so I decided to go have grapes for breakfast. So I make my way down here, pull back a couple of the grapes to pull them off, and lo and behold, I see the snake. So I take off, I back away, and I take off back up towards the house. But just as I got halfway up towards the house, to the door, I see this other snake, and the snake is there, and so I stop. Well, I stop, and I am just as still as I can be. And guess what the snake did? Snake crawled across my right foot. I can still feel this cold, slimy snake, and he was headed down apparently to have breakfast to get grapes. And I remember as soon as the snake did that, I took off running back in the house. My mom was trying to figure out what was wrong with me, but for probably that summer, whatever she told me to do, I did. Because
Mama knows best.
Mama knows best. And not only does Mama know best, parents know best. And sometimes the moral of the story is that we may want to do what we want to do, but we need to listen to moms and dads who are wiser. And so that was a summer that changed my life, made me more curious and aware of what I needed to do. And that was listen to Mama.
Bible story. Yeah.
Thanks, Gary. You're right. Obey your mama.
Listen to Mama.
All of you out there, obey your mama. She's always right.
Yes, she is.
Well, today's story has to do with obedience as well. So, Lisa, who are we talking about today?
We are talking about 3 guys with funny names, and their names are Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. She could not say them, so she left them to me.
Thanks, Lisa. I can't do it. It's too hard. I can't do it.
She really
I'll
can't.
practice.
But you can find the story of these guys in the Old Testament in the book of Daniel in chapter 3.
All right.
And they were working for the king at that time of Babylon. His name was King Nebuchadnezzar.
I can say it, Nebuchadnezzar.
Yes, okay. He was the king. They were not Babylonian. They were not born in Babylon. They were Jews that were taken out of their country. And so they recognized the king as being king, but remember, they worshiped the one true God. Well, King Nebuchadnezzar decided, with some bad advice, that he should make a huge statue, put it in the middle of the land, and when all this loud music played, everyone in the country had to stop what they were doing and bow down towards the statue and worship the king.
Don't like it.
Yeah, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego disobeyed the king's orders, okay? And the people who didn't like them found out about it and pulled them in front of the king and said, they are not obeying you, they are not worshiping you. So King Nebuchadnezzar said, is this true? The guy said, yes, it's true. We can't do that. We only worship the one true God. And he said, well, what do you think's going to happen to you? Because I should throw you into the furnace. And they said, you know what? Our God is going to deliver us from this. And you know what? Even if he doesn't deliver us, which is a fancy name for save us from this furnace, we're still not going to bow down and worship you. That made the king super mad, and he threw him into the furnace, turned it up 7 times as hot, and was like, I am done with these rule breakers.
You would think so. They're
Nope.
in the furnace.
Yep, nope. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego not only survived the furnace, but when the king looked in, they were just walking around free as can be. And not by themselves. The king looked in and said, who is that 4th person in there? We don't know who that is. We think it could be an angel. It could be God himself. We're not sure. But they were surrounded and comforted and were saved from that heat. The king pulled him out, was like, oh my goodness, that was amazing. You are right. This God of yours saved you. And at that moment, he made a decree, which is another fancy word for he made another rule for the whole country that said, no one is going to speak badly about Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego or this God, this one true God that they worship.
Wow.
And then he promoted him to an even better job. Awesome. What a reward for following the rules and being obedient to the true king. Tough decision, but they did it.
They did the right thing, though. Yep.
They did.
All right. Well, until we see you all again, you all have a great rest of the week. Love you guys.